kitchen, I'm going to show you how to make a delicious and simple classic Italian appetizer, tomato and basil bruschetta. Here's what you need: red onion, tomatoes, garlic, fresh basil, extra virgin olive oil, dried oregano, salt and pepper, and of course, bread. I prefer a French baguette, but whatever your supermarket carries, like a crusty French bread, Italian bread, by all means, use what you have. Okay, let's get started. First thing we're going to do is cut the tomatoes. Now, the one thing I get really disappointed when I go into a restaurant and I get bruschetta is that I always find that the tomatoes are like macerated, they're like almost juiced. I want chunky tomatoes. I want a nice chunky bruschetta. I don't like anything that's too small, but I don't want anything that's too big that's going to fall off my bread either. So that for me is perfect, but you can cut them a little smaller if you'd like, a little bigger if you'd like that. Okay, all my tomatoes are chopped, so next I'm going to cut the red onion. Now, remember what I said about the tomatoes, they shouldn't be too fine, but the red onion, completely different. The red onion has to be very finely chopped because I don't want to bite into a red onion. I just want to really have that little bit of fire and kind of spiciness that raw red onion brings you. So I'm just cutting very small amount. By the end of you chopping it, you want probably about a tablespoon or so of red onion, maybe like a tablespoon and a half. You don't want more than that because believe me, it's going to be overpowering and that's not going to make your bruschetta very tasty. Trust me, they will pay off. If you have a dull chef's knife, it's a nightmare, believe me. So there's the red onion. Now the garlic. I'm gonna do, depending on the size of the garlic, I'm probably gonna do a clove. I think this is good. I think a clove is good. It's a pretty nice big clove of garlic. Like I said, I don't want anything to be too overpowering and too strong. And especially if you're having a party, you don't want to have garlic breath while you talk to people. Okay. So I just whacked it with the back of my knife. And same technique. You just want to, whoops, stuck to my finger. You just want to go back and forth until it's really finely minced. You could also grate this in if you wanted to. I sometimes do if I have my little microplane near me. I just grate it right in the tomatoes. But I'm just going to chop it. Okay, so my garlic is chopped. It's nice and minced, I should say. Now next is the basil. Fresh basil. Cannot substitute parsley or dry basil because, you know, a lot of people don't understand the difference between dried herbs and fresh herbs. Some dried herbs are fabulous to use. Like, I love to use dried thyme, dried marjoram, dried oregano is my favorite. I don't really use fresh oregano because it's a little too strong for me. But fresh basil is something that you cannot beat. It has to be fresh basil, especially for tomato bruschetta. It has to be fresh basil. Now, what I do is I just put it all in a bunch and I just start chiffonading it, which just means just in really thin strips. And then just go over it so that it's like really finely minced so you can distribute all the way through the tomatoes so that every single bite has some basil, tomato. Okay. Now, the dried oregano. I love the aroma of dried oregano. Absolutely adore it. I'm gonna probably use, I never really measured. That's something that I've been cooking so many years. I know how much I like of something. I know how much I don't like of something. I love oregano, and in this dish, I always put about a teaspoon. And I'm measuring this time for you guys, but I never really do. So I'm just going to put about a teaspoon of dried oregano. Make it a teaspoon and a half. See, I never measure. Okay. And I'm going to put the salt and pepper. Now this is something I'm not going to measure because I really believe that salt and pepper should be added to taste. I know I like more salt than most people, so I'm just going to put as much as I think I'm going to like. But by all means, start with a small amount, and if you want more, just work yourself up. Never start with an excessive amount of salt because you can't take it away. You can always add it, but you can't take it away. That's about good for me. You can't miss the salt because salt really brings out the flavor in all of these ingredients. Pepper. Okay. And now the olive oil. I'm going to use about, I don't know, 2-3 tablespoons maybe. Has to be really good extra virgin olive oil. Okay, now we're going to leave this here. Look how beautiful that is. You see all those colors? It's kind of like the Italian flag. It's like red, white, and green. How beautiful. You see how chunky it is? So that when you're mixing it, all the juices from the tomatoes and the olive oil, they're going to be so delicious on the bread. No idea. We get the bread now. Oh, it's going to be delicious. It's so crispy. I'm going to show you how to slice a baguette for this appetizer. I never slice it just like that in rounds because it's about this big and it gives me no surface for the tomatoes. So I always slice it at an angle. First thing I'm going to do is get rid of this first one because it's kind of difficult to chop up. Don't throw it away though. It goes next. Don't cut it too thin. Like that, it's probably perfect. And that's your first cut. So my griddle pan's preheated. Now, if you don't have a griddle pan, you can always just preheat your oven at 375 and just put your slices of bread in there for about 5 minutes until it's just golden crispy. If you want to dispense with that step, put it in your toaster. If, however, you don't even want the crispy bread, you can always just put the tomato mixture right on top of the bread as is. But I want to warn you that the bread can get soggy. Now, for most people, if most people don't have a grill pan, they wonder if it's something they should invest in, if it's something that they should have. I think it's one of the best tools you can find. Mine's really old. Mine's about 10 years old. I've had it for as long as I can remember. This is one of the very first things my dad actually bought for me. And I love it. It's really seasoned, as you can see. It's really seasoned. It's one of my favorite tools in my kitchen. But if it's a brand new griddle pan and it's not seasoned, then I would suggest putting some olive oil on it. But I'm good to go just as is. So I'm just going to put my slices of bread right on. It's going to be so good. Bread's done. Now we assemble. Okay. Look how beautiful this is. Oh. Now I'm just going to plate 3 of them just to show you the finished product of what it looks like. But take a big platter, just top them, or what I even do for parties, I just take a big plate, put this charred bread on, which looks gorgeous on a nice rustic brown plate. Pretty little bowl with the bruschetta on the side. People help themselves. Perfect. Okay. So here we go. Look at that. Oh my god. It's going to be so delicious. You see that? Look at those colors. Oh, it's going to be perfect. So good. Look at that. I think this one needs a little more. Looks a little lonely. Okay. I like to see a couple little tomatoes on the plate. I just think it looks pretty. There we go. Just going to put a little bit of basil on each one. That. Pretty as that. I'm telling you, the star of the show will be you when you bring these to your friend's house or when you have these at your own party. Trust me. So good. And there we go. That's bruschetta. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. Now, you better go back in the kitchen right now and make this. If you want to impress your date, if you want to impress your friends, I suggest you make this right now. Now, these are ingredients you can find in your supermarket, anywhere. So it's going to be so, so, so delicious. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed yourself, and I'll see you next time.